When somebody's the president of the United States, the authority is total. And that's the way it's got to be.
The authority is total.
The authority of the president of the United States having to do with the subject we're talking about is total.
That was President Donald Trump, of course, declaring that he has total authority to force the states to reopen their economies in the midst of the coronavirus. So now coronavirus, of course, is a pandemic. Right now, the United States has the highest amount of cases and the highest amount of deaths that are recorded. So now, look, you can go and say, well, China might be hiding the amounts of deaths that they've had and infections too. That is very possible. But as of right now, known cases and known deaths, the United States leads the world. We're number one. We're number one. And it's because we were unprepared, more so than a lot of the other countries. Even Italy. We were far more unprepared than Italy, which has, of course, had a disastrous time and is still having a disastrous time dealing with the effects of coronavirus. So now, look, right now, we're not only in the middle of a pandemic, but also in the middle of massive economic upheaval. So that's, that's where the calls to reopen the economy are coming from. Hey, man, look, we got to reopen the economy. We're going to have massive unemployment. It's going to be disastrous. And look at all these people that are suffering. Okay, totally. I get it, right? The problem is we can't open it up right now because we're continuing to see increases in both coronavirus cases and deaths related to that illness. And so it would be a bad idea to reopen the economy, especially, if every different state treats this differently as it has, right? I mean, our nation's response to this is as good as every state's individual response to the crisis when they decided to do stay-at-home orders and all that. If a state issued a stay-at-home order later than the states around it, then guess what? We as a country, we as a collective nation, we've got to wait longer as a country to begin reopening or risk a second wave of infections. And it also applies to the rest of the world. The United States, if we lag behind the other countries in trying to, flatten that curve and basically eradicate the virus by making sure that it can't infect new people, and we reopen up and there are no travel restrictions or basically what would be a travel ban, the other countries would have to ban all travel to the United States until we deal with this. And that would, of course, be disastrous for our economy, for trade and all that stuff. So really, it's down to the people that are, that it's down to what every country does. And of course, within every country, it's down to whatever state and city does, and to make sure that they stop the spread of this virus. So it's ridiculous, right? So, and as for Trump's claim, all right, so he claims we've got total authority, right, to shut this down. No, he doesn't. See, there's this thing called the 10th Amendment. There's states' rights, right? And then, of course, you have states' rights and you have the rights of the federal government, right, or the power of the federal government. And that is a system that we live in, and it's called federalism. So in this case, the states do have the power to end the stay-at-home order and reopen local economies. The federal government does not have that power. Now, I'm certain that they can put some pressure on that, on those states to reopen by withdrawing federal funding, et cetera, right? But to say that I have total authority, hey, Michigan, I order you to no longer do the stay-at-home order, that's not going to fly very well because that's beyond their power, okay? In fact, William Busby, a professor of Georgetown University Law School, and an expert in the subject of federalism, said this: state and local governments have strong police power to protect their citizens, and so I'm unaware of any way in which the federal government could basically try to override anything the states and cities have been doing to protect the public health of their citizens. Honestly, there isn't anything that he can do constitutionally. So we do have this document. I know there's a lot of conservatives out there who claim to be fans of the Constitution, that we have to follow this. Well, then you should be like, hey, Donald Trump, what are you doing? That's not your power in the Constitution. It's not your constitutional authority. You can't actually do that. I don't hear a lot of that going on. No, instead I hear a lot of Trump's always right. He's 100% right. Reopen the economy. Do it right now. He doesn't have the power. He doesn't have the power. Okay. Anyway, so now the CDC also says that states have police power functions to protect the health, safety, and welfare of persons within their borders. Isolation and quarantine orders are among those police power functions, which are derived from the right of the state to take action affecting individuals for the benefit of society. So again, not in their power. It's clearly something that Donald Trump cannot do, as he is not a dictator. I know some of you want him to be, but that's not the reality. We live in America. It's America. All right, anyway. So now, he was asked by a reporter, right, what gave him the power to reopen the economy, right? He said, well, numerous provisions. I can give you a legal brief if you want. Legal brief. I'm sorry, but a handwritten note in crayon saying President Trump is awesome, he's the greatest president ever and could do whatever he wants is not a binding government document. And it certainly does not negate the Constitution. No, in this case, the states do have the power, and a lot of states are making the right call to enforce social distancing measures and to enforce their stay-at-home orders until medical experts weigh in and say, okay, we beat this thing. We're in the clear. We're in the clear. And not only that, states are getting together to form their own plans in conjunction with each other instead of working with the federal government. Here you have Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Rhode Island getting together, form a council to figure out when and how to reopen their states. That council will include health experts and economic experts from each of the states. So health experts, that's good. Economic experts, that's also good, to figure out the best time for these states to reopen. So that's positive, right? Now, they said the states will work together to develop a fully integrated regional framework to gradually lift the state's stay-at-home orders while minimizing the risk of increased spread of the virus. The states will use tools including testing, contact tracing, treatment, and social distancing, and rely on the best available scientific, statistical, social, and economic information to evaluate progress. Similarly, the governors of California, Oregon, and Washington State announced an agreement that the region will move towards reopening based on health outcomes. Health outcomes and science, not politics, will guide these decisions, the governors of those states said in an announcement. So that is smart, because right now, we're not getting any sort of leadership in the federal government. Not under Donald Trump. In fact, Trump is trusted least when it comes to dealing with coronavirus. Now, that's not to say the Democrats are trustworthy either. People don't trust Joe Biden. However, they do trust, I don't know why, but they trust Andrew Cuomo, who I guess has been doing a better job than President Trump. But you also have Trump officials. Dr. Fauci is one of the most trustworthy on this issue because he's out there giving factual information. Now, that's not to say that the Trump administration isn't trying, because Trump is forming a, quote, opening our country council. Now, Politico reports that it's devoted to reopening the economy as soon as possible. I wonder what their recommendation is going to be. My guess, it's not going to be based on science. Look, here's the thing. We all want to get back to normal. We do. We want to get back to work. We want to get back out there. I haven't had a coffee from the local Big B or anywhere else from for weeks, right? I miss my freaking coffee. But I know that staying home and abiding by the stay-at-home order is better for me and the community. So I don't get it. And so that if I do have it, I don't spread it around. That's smart. I miss things. I'm going to miss doing things in summer. But again, I'm doing what's best for my health and the health of the community. And that's what we should all be doing. I know having to give up a little bit for a very short time for a better long-term health and economic outcome is so hard for some people to do, but we should get over it, suck it up, and do what's right for the country. We've got to be smart, and we've got to use the facts. And I don't trust the Trump administration to look at the facts because, look, and they'll tell you, you ask them, they'll tell you, we don't care about the facts. No, being ignorant of the facts, we're proud of that. We're proud to say that science, whoa, we don't believe in science. No, that's fake news, by the way. And so you shouldn't believe any of that. They are proud to spit in the face of scientific evidence and expert advice. Just look at how long it took Donald Trump to take this thing seriously. And the only thing that got him around to this is the fact that the economy was failing. And so, and the stock market, of course, had taken a gigantic dive over this entire thing. And so, look, he didn't actually do anything until mid-March. And by then, you had thousands of people that had died in this country. And, more were needlessly infected by this. And that's why we have to stay home and why the federal government has to be more proactive in protecting small business. And not only that, but they've got to protect the workers from falling into economic hardship. That one $1,200 check, sure, it's nice, but it's not enough too. A one-time $1,200 check. No, that's not going to help as many people as it should. That needs to be increased. You need to have a $2,000 a month until this ends. A UBI until this is over. Not only that, moratorium on rent, moratorium on mortgages. You need to help both individuals, workers, small businesses, and homeowners. Because right now, normal is a long way off. And we've got to be smart. We've got to be wise if we're going to be able to beat this. Because if not, it's going to keep coming back. It's going to do more economic harm. And it's going to, of course, do massive harm to people's lives, which I think should be the most important thing about all of this. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.